Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for joining us here on the NUFC 360 YouTube channel. We're here today to discuss the Premier League preview with the game against Brentford at 3 p.m. St James's Park tomorrow as we record. And I am joined, my name's Mark, sorry. I'm joined this evening by Ez. How are you, Ez?
Hello. Very well, thank you.
Good. And Jack. Jack, you well?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good, thank you. And welcome along also to Anthony. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Mark. Thanks for letting us in.
Yeah, absolutely. Really looking forward to discussing the game and seeing what everybody's thoughts are for this one. Obviously, coming off the back of a victory, our second victory of the season against Fulham, so confidence is higher than it was at least. And Brentford are the ones coming to town. So we'll first, I suppose, discuss what we think of our opponents. Bit of an unknown quantity, just a bit of information. So Brentford currently sit in 10th place in the Premier League, and they're on 10 points, 2 wins, 3 draws, 3 losses. So for them, probably doing a little bit better than what I thought they'd be doing personally this season. I don't know what you guys think about that. I'll start with Jack.
Yeah, so I think Brentford, had a really strong season last year, first year in the Premier League. I think everyone thought they were going to potentially get hit by second season syndrome, as is the way for newly promoted sides. But I really rate Thomas Frank. I think he's a really, really top manager. He's got a system that works. The players all fit into the system. Their scouting model's really clever based on data. They're just a very forward-thinking, modern club. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of them. Ivan Toney's obviously, the standout player, but they've got some really Rico Henry left wing back, been one of the best wing backs in the league this season. Aaron Hickey, right back, new signing, good player as well. Ben Mee on a free. I think that's quite an underrated pickup from them. So yeah, I really rate Brentford, and it's gonna be a tough game. No matter what, we're gonna probably have most of the ball, and they actually win most of their games when they don't have the ball.
Yeah, I think on that.
The point.
Oh, sorry.
No, go for it, Anthony, please.
Yeah, I was going to say the thing. I think on that is we've struggled against teams that aren't going to come play well, and although Brentford will let us have a lot of the ball, I think the way they attack when they do eventually get the ball will leave quite a lot of space, especially for like Maxi to get in behind, praying that he starts, of course, So I think they are a good side, but we do have probably the tools to deal with them, hopefully.
Yeah, on that, I've got to say I agree with Anthony's point. Sorry, Mark, there seems to be a bit of a delay on the line.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say it's interesting. No, apologies, my bad. I don't know what's going on, but I'll try and hold it together as best I can. I was just thinking back to quite an interesting point from Anthony, because just thinking back, there was an awful lot going on during those transitions in the game where one team would be attacking, and it wasn't, obviously at the time they weren't in the greatest form, and we definitely weren't. And so it was two teams really having a go, and it'll be interesting to see what happens this season, because I think the style of play will be quite similar, but obviously both teams are in a much healthier place than they were around that time, because around that time, that was when Brentford were just starting to fall off, and we all know where we were at the time. So yeah, it'd be interesting to find out, really. Any other thoughts on the opposition there? As you came in quite late, so.
Yeah, I was just going to elaborate on what Anthony was saying. I think our last 2 home games against Bournemouth and Crystal Palace, I'm quite surprised. It's a strange feeling, but these teams are paying us a lot of respect. They weren't necessarily there to attack us, and we dominated both games. We really did, and I don't expect us to dominate the game in the same way tomorrow. I think Brentford will, they'll look to counter. They're a pacey team. They've got overlapping fullbacks. They're a 4-3-3 team. I don't think they'll pay us the same respect, I guess is what I'm saying. And I think that may play into our hands.
Yeah, potentially. Let's hope so, because obviously we have had an issue so far this season, breaking teams down at home when they're putting a lot of men behind the ball. So any advantage that we can get in that area would be good for us. So I suppose, that naturally brings us to how we think we'll approach this game. And obviously, lineups is probably going to be the most important talking point here. Especially, I would imagine, in midfield. We've got we haven't really got the conundrum. Eddie Howe's got the conundrum of who he puts in that midfield three, assuming it's a midfield three. Don't see why it wouldn't be. What's your thoughts on that, Jack? Who would you play for this game? Because we've got a lot of informed players in those positions at the moment.
Yeah, that Fulham game came at the right time for a lot of players. I know. Obviously, they went down to 10 men very early on, but I thought we started that game so well. I think we would have won. We would have won if it had been 11-11. The way we Botman and Shah were like camped literally 40 yards from their goal and just squeezing them so high up the field. Like it was inevitable we're going to score at some point. It was a fantastic away performance. There's definitely some decisions to make, as you say, midfield. Thought Sean Longstaff was really good, got a goal. Yes, obviously the goal kind of was Botman's doing, but he's still there to put it in. His all-round performance was solid. Joe Willock was absolutely fantastic. He's got to score at some point, hasn't he? He got his goal nicked off him by Callum at the back post, and then he had the other one saved by Leno. He's got to score at some point, Willock. It's going to happen. But I was really impressed with his performance. I thought he was brilliant.
Yeah.
So I think the midfield three stays the same, even though Joe Linton's back. I'm actually going to say the midfield three stays the same. And then left back, you got a decision as well, because Botman's got to start. He is an absolute Rolls Royce of a defender, so class. Like he dominated. I know Mitrovic went off injured, but he didn't get a sniff because Botman was all over him. So it's either Burn or Target at left back, and I think I'd go for Target. In a game like this against Brentford, and then you're looking Callum Wilson start up front. Maxi, is he fit? He'd be on the bench at minimum, and I would maybe actually leave him on the bench, and if we need him, like half a goal, put him on. So I'd have to go with Murphy again. Murphy and Miggy. I thought Murphy was really good against Fulham. Was loads of problems. So yeah, that's what I go for.
Yeah, I mean, I've been really harsh on Willock this season, and obviously you mentioned him, so I've got to give credit where it's due. I thought that was his best game against Fulham in a Newcastle shirt for a while, in my opinion. And for me, I think he probably does have to start. It was an interesting situation we found ourselves in, I thought, against Fulham with as soon as they had the man off, it was almost like we were playing with either 2 number 8s and a 10 or 3 number 8s in the middle. Just because of the way it worked out, really, and like I say, Botman and Cher were playing so high up the pitch, and obviously having the 10 men allowed us to do that. So it is going to be interesting to see how Eddie Howe approaches this game in midfield. Do you agree, Ez? Keep it unchanged, leave Joe Linton on the bench?
No, not at all. I would play my best players. Joe Linton, I think, is one of our top 3 players, along with Bruno. I think they've got a good connection. So I'd put Joe Linton in. Sorry to say, I'd take Sean Longstaff out. Nothing against him. I thought he played well, and that's fine. Like, it's fine to play well, and it's fine to be a good replacement when the better players are missing, and then go back to the bench. Like, there's no offense in that. And I think the kind of spirit in the camp wouldn't allow for Sean to go back on the bench and then feel really kind of deflated. I think he'll get a chance again, no doubt. So no, I'd play our best players. Willock started every game, so he's not going to drop Willock because he started every game, including the League Cup game, and he's just starting to. You can see glimpses of getting into form. So I wouldn't drop Willock. I'd drop Sean Longstaff, unfortunately, for Joe Linton in the midfield.
Personally, I'm honestly in 2 minds about it, so I'll sit on the fence on this one. I really don't know what to do about it. It's like the thing is about Sean Longstaff. I feel for him so bad because what happened to him was probably the worst thing that can happen to a young footballer when they're progressing. He got Steve Bruce as his manager. And it's like, and it's as a fan, it's so awful to see because you could see what he was doing under Rafa and where the potential was and where he could go. And yeah, maybe there's a bit of an argument to say, look, at the time we were a bit crap, so if he puts in a decent performance, it looks better than it is. But I genuinely think there was more to him than that. And then Steve Bruce comes along, and my God, 2 years, what a difference that made in that player. And you can see Eddie Howe, it's taking longer, which is understandable because he's a young player, to improve him. but you can see that happening. So on the one hand, I'm rooting for him, but on the other hand, what you're saying is it makes total sense. It's like there is no harm in taking off a player and putting him on the bench and maybe bringing him on later in the game, even if he's had a good game, and rotating the squad, etc. So I can see it from both sides, if I'm honest. Anthony, let's get your opinion on this. Maybe you can be the deciding vote.
I think I'm just going to make things worse because I think I'm going to have a slightly controversial take on this one.
Oh, no, come on, we're here for this. That's what we want to hear. That's what we want.
I
would want to play either of them.
I would probably go Joe Linton, Bruno, and Longstaff. I'd probably actually drop Willock because the Willock is fantastic and has been great, and we need the energy in midfield. I think, like I was saying, this game is going to be a game of transition, and what Longstaff brings is like he's Willock is also a good presser, but it's what Longstaff does. You put him in that midfield, and he's going to just be alongside Joe Linton, having those two really combative midfielders that kind of free up Bruno to get forward as he needs, link up with Almiron like he can. I think against Brentford, that's going to be key. Whereas Willock is very good, but I don't think he does either of the things as good as we'd need them to, like a specialist in this game, like Longstaff can, and like, Joe Linton can.
That's fair.
The thing is, I can see very valid arguments to all three of the positions put forward, basically. And like, this must be going through Eddie Howe's mind, and a whole bunch of stuff that we don't see and know about either. So it is going to be like genuinely interesting to see what he comes out and does. And he's obviously got a couple of decisions to make in front of him as well. We haven't really talked that much about the forward line, other than maybe if Maxi's back or not. But if he is, do you play him? Do you throw him straight in? How fit is he? Also kind of harsh to do that to Jacob Murphy, given that he had probably one of his best games in the Newcastle shirt against Fulham. Got to caveat it with, it's against 10 men. But look, the lad did what he had to do. Did a really good job. And then, I suppose Miggy walks into the team right now after his wonder goal, as does Wilson. So there's a question mark on that front left side. There is also the third option of Elliot Anderson. I don't think he'll do that, but just putting it out there. The word is that Maxi's been back in training for most of the week, in some shape or form, but who knows how fit he is. And Eddie Howe, as ever, keeping his cards very, very close to his chest, frustratingly, but understandably so, as he always does in his press conferences today. So, I'm not a betting man, but my assumption is he'll probably be on the bench, but I don't know what you lads think on it.
Yeah, I think he'll be on the bench as well. I think with Maxi, I've got to be honest, I think in this season, I think he's been unbelievable in pretty much every game, apart from maybe Brighton. I think he's been. I think even against Nottingham Forest, he didn't get a goal or an assist, but his decision making was like absolutely spot on. Like, he made the right pass at the right time. He did everything at the right time. So what I'm worried about with Maxi is if we put him in against Brentford, which is a game that we might need him, we might not need him, and he's not fully fit and he gets injured and he's out again, then we're really missing out on such a massive key player who looks like he's finally maybe going to display the ability that we all know he has this season. So I would urge on the side of caution and leave him on the bench. And if we're either winning comfortably, bring him on, or if we need something, bring him on. That's probably what I would do. I think Murphy played. He's nowhere near Murphy's nowhere near the same as Saint-Maximin, but he could. He's quick. He caused them some problems. So that's what I would go with, just simply because I don't want Maxi to get injured again until he's properly fully fit.
Yeah, I think I'd probably agree with that. Yeah, I think the thing as well, Anderson. I think Anderson's fantastic, and I think he will be a tremendous player. But I see him more as a midfielder than out wide. I know there's the argument that he can like kind of a Phil Foden and be an attacking midfielder and use that wide at the same time. But I think he at the moment, while he's developing, giving him minutes in a more stable midfield would be better than putting him in a position he's maybe not more comfortable with, and then having to cover for a guy like Maxi, who is like, stratospheric, So
I'm in a state of paranoia about the way injuries that get reported at the club, because Eddie Howe doesn't tell us anything.
Yeah.
So we're looking at the photographs of the training, but there's no photographs of St. Maximin. But is that on purpose? You start to get this paranoia. Are they hiding it from Brentford, or is he just not work? And so I'm in this like real state of like, I don't know what's going on. But apparently the video has been released of him training today. But I don't think he's had a full week's training, and I don't think Howe would stick him in this game. There's not that much riding on this game that we have to risk him, given that he's not played recently. So I think he'll stick with Murphy, but I personally wouldn't stick with Murphy. I'd stick Fraser on. Fraser has a good relationship with Wilson. I'm just not a fan of Murphy. He can have the best game of his life. I'm not. Even last week, he didn't put a cross in. He terrorized the right back. He didn't put a cross in. So for me, I'd put Murphy.
Yeah, I think it speaks volumes that he had. Yeah, I think it speaks volumes that he had, probably everyone agrees, one of his best games in a while, and he still wasn't really that much of a threat in the final third.
No,
like
still didn't get any.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that basically sums it up, which is pretty damning, really. And I don't want to be too harsh on the lad, but he's just, he's not where he's not destined to join us for where we're going, and I think there's a little bit of frustration with the fans wanting to get there faster than we are at the moment, which is natural. It's perfectly natural. On Maxi, I mean, I don't know how much trade. I playing into that paranoia, by the way, as I worry that half the players are like high on oxygen all the time. They're all in bloody oxygen tents every time they're injured. I'm like, what's going on in here? Can you overdose on oxygen? What's it's mad, and there is so little information. And I get it. Like, Eddie Howe wants to keep his cards close to his chest. There's advantages to doing that. But as fans, you're just second guessing everything, and it's like, oh Christ, it's really stressful.
Yeah. Also,
anyway, I think we've. Sorry.
I was going to quickly say, on the paranoia thing, it doesn't help that when the injuries have happened, the way that Eddie's been very sort of close-fisted on giving dates and stuff, and it's always, well, they're nearly back, and then it's been a week and another week, and again, this is not really a criticism, but as a fan, it's like, oh, please just tell us something,
Absolutely, yeah, I think that's exactly right. Oh man. Anyway, we'll get on to score predictions, I suppose. Just to give you a quick rundown, obviously we know our results. I've got the last 5 results written down here for Brentford. So going back in order, they had a 0-0 draw with Bournemouth. They beat Leeds 5-2, lost 3-0 to Arsenal, 2-2 draw with Leicester. And then before that, you have to go all the way back to their famous 4-0 win against Man United. Our form, as we know, has been a lot of draws until recently. We've got our second win of the season, and confidence is high. So with that in mind, and everything we've discussed so far, score predictions wise, Jack?
Yeah. I think 3-1 Newcastle, because I feel we'll start well at St James's Park. First half, really get after them. It's the year from the takeover. The atmosphere is going to be electric. We've got everyone's coming back now. We're only without really Isak and Shelby. Maxi will probably be on the bench. I think everyone will be in a really good atmosphere. We'll really go for it. And I think Wilson will get a goal as he does when he's fit. I don't know who else will score, but I think we'll be 2-0 up at half time, and then I think we'll go on for a 3-1 victory. As I say, I rate Brentford. I think they're a good team. I think they'll stay up comfortably, but I think if we play at our level, we're too good for them.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. It basically sums up how I feel as well. I think they're a decent team, but they're nothing special, basically. They've got a couple of decent players in there, the obvious one being Tony and a smattering of others around them. But we should have enough to win these games. Then again, said the same thing against the likes of Bournemouth and Palace, and we all know how that went. So it's going to be probably a slugfest, is how I see it. But I'll come to my prediction at the end. Ez, what's your thoughts on it?
For anyone going to the game, I've got a sad prediction in that I think it's going to be a really boring match. Like I hope not, but I just think it's going to be a really boring. It's got real Saturday 3 p.m. vibes to this game. I think we'll win 2-0. I think we'll score 2 late goals. Joe Linton loves a goal against Brentford, so I think Joe Linton and Wilson will score late on, and it'll be a massive relief because it would have been such a boring game. I think Tony's already got the monkey off his back with scoring against us already, so I'm not sure he'll get another one. But yeah, 2-0.
2-0. And yourself, Anthony?
I'm going to go 3-2, and I'm going to say Joe Linton gets revenge on them for what happened at St James's Park last season. When, if you remember, when we were drawing 3-3, he gets played clean through and then slips on his arse and costs our first win of the season. So I think Joe Linton's going to get revenge with a header in the 89th minute, 3-2. Ivan Toney gets the 2 for Brentford.
I think that was it the same month where he somehow managed to shoot and hit his own face as well
against Leeds.
Against Leeds, yeah. Something like that. He had a great month that month.
That was the very end of like Joe Linton playing up front, like, because Howe came in and still kind of like started like either wide or up front when you needed him, and then it was like very clearly still like, no, he's great in the press, just play him in midfield.
Hey, it's an option we didn't actually discuss in the lineups. You could get Joe Linton on the pitch if you just play him on that off that left.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He
started
on the left against Norwich.
Yeah. So you never know. I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna try and be too pessimistic on this one, but I just haven't been to a lot of the game. You know, all but one of the home games this season, and witnessing what I have, and just getting frustrated. I'm going to say we'll win 2-1. I think it's a weird one because in certain respects, I think it's one of those games where it's like, there's goals in the game. Last season proved that. But having just scored 4, it's like, do I really think we're going to do something similar again? I doubt it. It has been hard this season getting goals at home against teams that set up well, and I think Brentford will set up well. I think they will look to nullify us to a certain degree, but I'll try and be cautiously optimistic and go with 2-1. I hope I'm right, because I've got a ticket to the game and I'm raring to go because it's been that damn long since we've had a home game. So I hope it's a good one. But yeah, only time will tell. That brings us to the logical conclusion. So thanks to all of you for joining us, that have joined us live. Thanks to anyone who's watching this after the fact as well. And of course, thanks to Jack Ez for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Catch you next time.